Let's get scratching.
We got an explosive broadcast coming to you. Listen up. Sega games, just keep playing them.
We're back. It's the SEGAbits Swingin Report Show live. Get ready for Sega interviews and news.
I stand still alone that twilight outside of...
Hello and welcome back to the SEGAbits Swingin Report Show live. I'm Barry, and on this episode, I am completing my Milk My Japan trip for all its worth run of videos by talking about my visit specifically to retro video game shops in Japan. And I posted some vlogs to our channel. You can check those out. We have 3 of them. I also went on our new, I don't know what you'd call it, a sister podcast, a partner podcast, Sonic Weekly, and I talked about the state of Sonic in Japan, and Sonic is alive and well in Japan, surprisingly. And then I also did a Sega Talk episode with George where we went through the entirety of Tokyo Joypolis, and I kind of gave my thoughts on that, and it was just an overall really fun episode. But this one is all about retro game shopping and shopping in general, I guess, in Japan. And who else could probably beat me or top me in terms of their experiences, memories, and recollections than our good friend. And on this episode, he's my co-host, Steve. Welcome, Steve.
Hey. How's it going? Good to be here.
Thanks for coming on. So, yeah, you, I think, have now broken the record in terms of guest appearances on this show. And so I'm bumping you up to co-host on this episode so that in 10 years when some kid's doing a, I don't know, like a wiki entry, he'll put you up there on the co-host one. Nice. Yeah. So, but I really wanted to bring you on and get your insight into your trips to Japan because you've been there. Your first visit was 2016.
Yeah,
and
I think you did 2016 or 2015, yeah.
And then your most recent one was last year, and I went a couple months ago, or was it a month ago? It feels like forever ago already. And so it's going to be interesting to kind of compare, contrast, see what has changed, what's improved, what's gone downhill. And so I think the first thing I want to do is just kind of show this map. And this map is a list of places you actually recommended to me, and I laid them out as best I could for like a nice walking tour through Akiba or Akihabara. What is the shortening there? Like, is that just like a local thing to call it less?
I'm assuming so. Yeah, I mean it's just kind of like nickname, kind of how folks like to make nicknames of things. Like
right. And so so this is kind of the techie, video gamey, otaku district in Japan. And do you know anything about the history of this area? Like, how long has this been like this? Probably since like the 60s or 70s, right?
I guess so. I actually have never thought about it, to be honest with you. I've visited it so many times, I've never actually. That's something I should probably look into, just in general. Good thing to.
Yeah. It really seemed like the like the hub, or I don't know if the word's right, the bastion of like electronics, and it's kind of losing that just because it's so easy to get stuff through the post and through the internet that I'm sure it's kind of not the place to go if you want the most recent high-end electronics, though there are some shops like that, but It still is very much frequented both by locals and by tourists, though I'd suspect more tourists than locals at this point. So I'll just run through here real quick showing the places I went to. So the first place was Super Potato. The second one was Mandrake Complex, and that was a multi-store sort of situation. It was actually quite overwhelming. I was surprised.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. Hard Off I went to, as well as Beep, which I'll have a lot to say about Beep. And then a second Hard Off, followed by a place called Trader, which was kind of disappointing. I won't have much to say about that place. And then lastly, it's not really listed here, but this is Book Off, the last one. And so I think the best way to kind of give people a visual of what this place looks like is to do a little Japanese TV, and we're going to actually watch a video that's already on this channel, but we're going to be in the little boxes, and I'll turn the volume down to commentate when needed. So let's jump right in. Look at this. How meta.
Wow.
Look at that.
So day 2, I'm just hitting some shops.
Look
So I don't really
Close
know
I am.
how much filming I'm going to do, just because a lot of shops discourage filming, and it also kind of makes me look like a weird YouTuber, which I don't really think I am. So I think I'll walk around. I'll film the outside of the shop, maybe snap a few silent videos, and then maybe after all said and done, share my thoughts on how it all ended. So I'm going to go into Book Off right now. It's very busy, so I don't know if I can share. I'll share a video. Here, one moment.
So this place was largely, as the name implies, books. It had CDs, but it did have a fair amount of games on the first floor. So this is a brief look at that section. Mostly modern. Have you been to this location?
Not this one in general. It's actually bigger than I thought it was. Book Off could be really surprising in terms of what you could find there. I find that it's less pick through than a Hard Off, and if you're looking for games. And also, like, Book Off it'll be like all the stuff that like you're expecting to see, and then like at the end of the aisle there'll just be a basket with like super cool rare stuff that you would never expect to see there. Like,
right.
Like, it'll like I think I found what's it called? Actually, it's probably right here. Look at this little compensation here. Try to figure out. Probably in the other drawer.
Oh, it's all there with you.
Yeah. Let me grab it. I thought I had it right here. Oh yeah. In the edge of the Book Off, I was just hanging out, and it was just about to leave, and hanging from a rack was one of these.
Oh, wow.
Yep. A Game
And
Boy Light.
Good price,
Great
too,
condition.
I bet.
It was a great price, yeah. And it was like, I couldn't believe it, because it was just like, why, you go to all these other places that are higher end that are thinking of these things, and this is Book Off, where the video games are like part of what's there, but it's not the main experience, right? Because it's books, it's CDs, it's all kinds of other things. So,
Right.
I always find, it's very, boom or bust at Book Off. But you tend to find, if you're going to find something like weird or special, it's going to be that weird thing at the end of the rack at Book Off.
And that's really the case throughout, is if you're looking for weird and special and obscure stuff, you're going to find it. But if you are there for the Pokemon and the Nintendo and the Mario, like all the tourists are, it's either going to cost you a lot or it's going to disappoint you. And, in my case, I knew that I wasn't going to be like overwhelmed by my favorite Sega franchises, but I was happily surprised in some cases. So let's go back to myself and see what I have to say.
So I just went to Book Off, which is like a used book and CD store. I've been told this is not the location to hit if you're looking for like tons of retro game stuff, but to be honest, I didn't want to be overwhelmed and I didn't want to spend too much. And so I did find a few cool deals. I got Last Bronx, which in Japan for Saturn, it has a 2-disc release, and I think it has material that the US version doesn't have. And then I also got Virtua Fighter Kids, and I got this cool Sega Music remix CD of like hip-hop versions of Fantasy Zone and Alex Kidd. and each of those were just $5 each. So, you know, can't really complain. So now I'm hitting Super Potato, and like I said, like a lot of these places, they overcharge. So I'm not expecting much, but it's fun. Let's go look. Oh, hey, Google. So I am now going into Super
Sneaky.
Ooh. You didn't take the stairs? You didn't brave it?
I took the stairs
are
down.
like- okay. The stairs up are just like it's, if there's another person coming up or down, you can't get through.
So this place, I think layout-wise, it was really cool looking. Price-wise, very high throughout.
This place has been known as being high-priced since before things were high-priced. It has everything, but you're going to pay if
Right.
you want something. This is one of the original quote-unquote like tourist traps of
Yeah.
retro.
Yeah, and I've learned even in America that, like, if you go to a retro game shop and it is loaded with really cool stuff, it's likely because everything's overpriced. There was a place I went to in, I think it was in New York, and it was cash only, and it was wall-to-wall stuff, and I couldn't afford any of it. I think I brought, like, $50, and everything was out of my price range. So I'm like, well...
I'm not going to disparage the group, the place, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I know, I've been there too.
Yeah.
And they have like the coolest selection of the coolest stuff, but like I think sometimes people put prices up there, especially when they have a large collection of hopeful thinking that it might sell,
Right.
As opposed to I actually want to sell this. And I think like they had like a twin Famicom or something like that, and they were charging, and this is like in 2008 or something where it was not this. They were charging like $1,000 for it, where you could still at that time get it for $100 something on eBay.
Right.
Just little things like that. Yeah, it's very traditional in terms of like how. And, I mean, they had all the Japanese stuff there, which was super rare at the time and hard to get. But they knew what they had, and they, the little meme joke, like, I know what I have, don't lowball me kind of deal. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Super Potato, it had a great selection. You can see here of Game Gear games. There were even, let me see if they show up, like boxed Game Gear games. But it was just too much. I didn't want to drop like $50 on, a fairly common game that I already have in my library, but it's the Japanese version. I think Echo that was there. Echo for Game Gear, and they wanted like $50 or $60 for it.
Yeah, and like it's really funny. I think I've told you the story before, but I was all excited because I went to one of these places and they had Toe Jam and Earl for Mega Drive, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I just want to play Toe Jam and Earl in Japanese. That would be like so fun.
Yeah.
No, it's just the English ROM. It's all in English. I paid like an exorbitant amount of money to get the same cartridge I have at home. That's just rebranded as a Mega Drive cartridge, like, because it was an American game, and I imagine that Echo would probably be the same for Game Gear. I wonder if they added any Japanese language to it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Probably not. And so I think I'll let myself speak for myself, because I bet I have better memories back then.
So I just went to Super Potato, as I was told by friends, high prices, lots of selection, and actually a fair amount of Sega stuff, but nothing like you can't just get anywhere online for cheaper. But I did get the Shenmue Perfect Guide book for $19, which is like $6 less than eBay. But those are the little things I like getting. I don't want to go crazy. I did see a Mega Drive Model 2 for $80, and it looked immaculate, but I have a Model 1. Don't really need one. Here's where I'm going into next. Pray for me.
So this is Trader, yeah.
So
Done.
left that place pretty quickly. Nothing too special. Mainly modern stuff. Maybe going as far back as like PS4. So not a retro bonanza. I'm very limited in what I'm looking for on this trip, just because it makes shopping a lot easier, which is just like retro Sega stuff, cheap oddities, that sort of stuff. But it's just fun to walk around, look at things, and be in this wild environment. I'm going to beep next. Look at that.
Oh, the maid cafes.
The maid cafes.
So
Yeah, they-
I think after Beep, I'm going to a place.
Yeah.
They're pretty aggressive, especially if you're like a tourist, especially if you're by yourself. They're up in your grill usually.
I like
Saturday's
aggressive.
really bad.
Yeah.
Mandrake, and then I'm pretty much done, at least for this time.
So one thing I did notice, and this is obvious, that games aren't sorted like alphabetically. Like I kept thinking, all right, well, I want Estal for Dreamcast. Let's look at the beginning of the shelf. Oh, there's something that starts with like the letter Z here. What's going on? Right, I'm not in America. So do you know anything about how they actually sort their
Yep.
games? What is it?
It's sorted by hiragana characters. So like a I U A O, kaki ku ke ko, like that, like similar kind of situations. So like you'll find everything like in the order that hiragana characters would appear on the chart. So it's not organized by like alphabetical order that we would assume it would be organized. So that, I mean, some places are, but a lot of traditional places aren't. If you see like Z or something like that, the character for that would, it just depends on how they want to order it, but that could
Right.
be in its own area. I've seen a lot of places though, like even Mandrake, I think sometimes has an alphabetical order, but like some hard offs, some other places like that, it will just be in a random order or no order at all, or organized by the hiragana character or particle or whatever, as opposed to how we traditionally assume. And I only figured that out like maybe the third time I went. The other
Right.
times I'm like sitting there like, why don't they have this game? I'm just looking for a game that starts with G, and it went from K to T, and that makes no sense to me.
Right. Yeah, I will say, though, what was helpful for me, at least, was that since I was looking for primarily Sega titles, as of, I want to say maybe even PlayStation 2, Sega would put their logo on the spine in Japan. Mm-hmm. So I would look in front of the PS4 section, which, is famously a region-free console, and I would just very quickly skim. And anytime I saw that little Sega, I'd look up and I'd be like, oh, it's Valkyria Chronicles, it's Binary Domain. And it was very easy to find the Yakuza titles because it would be under Like a Dragon, and it would like be half a shelf of Segas. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
So let's go into Beep, which is my favorite shop, and I'll talk more about it after the video. So this is the outside. It's in a basement, which I absolutely love. And there's the featured image.
Yep.
So this is interesting. These are Japanese Saturn games and other consoles, but they bundle them. So you buy bundles of games. Have you ever seen this before? It's like common titles.
It's interesting because like the one store I did not get back to when I was there this year was Beep. I don't remember them having this previously, but it could just be they're trying to get rid of bulk. Or,
Likely.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
And then
Interesting.
it's what I really loved about this shop is that it was small but extremely eclectic. It had a ton of weird little tchotchkes in like baskets and bins on the floor that you could dig through, and the pricing was so great for just about everything. I mean, you're seeing there like a Namcot game, I'm not sure what it's for 700 yen, which is, like if you just is like, oh, I just want to get one of these games for this console, why not? It's quite affordable for a lot of these things. They were very cool with me recording, even though I didn't film any, other customers or staff. I think that was, as long as I wasn't doing that, they didn't care.
Yeah, that's literally against the law in Japan. So it's
Right.
like you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're very respectful of other people, or if you're taking any pictures or doing anything. I'm like completely scared to even have my camera at all.
Yeah.
When I'm in Japan, because they take it very seriously.
I learned, like on my first time out, to hit record, hold my camera at my waist level and walk around, and then hope for the best. And I also figured I'm lower down, so I wasn't getting anyone's faces. It was like neck down, POV walk-arounds. But you can see here in this, they have a ton of Sega Ages 2500 titles behind the glass, so I presume these ones were a little more expensive. But I did spot the Phantasy Star there were 2 different volumes for Sega Ages 2500 on PS2, and those were very affordable. I didn't get them just because I can't play them. PS2 is not region free. But like you can see here, very eclectic. Lots of really cool merch. Oh, I got someone.
Oh, you got somebody.
This shelf here, again, very eclectic, but just it's almost like looking at someone's collection. Metal Gear Solid 2 for, what is that, for the Famicom?
That's MSX. I can see the logo
MSX.
on the bottom. Yep. The red logo on the bottom there, yeah.
Dreamcast games, even a Genesis game behind there, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, these are expensive games. That Metal Gear is probably like $300 or $400.
Likely. But you can see down here, tons of books. I didn't even get a chance to look through all these books. It's a shame, but it's so much to take in.
I always, when I go in there, like I was saying, like I'm 6'3". I can't even walk in there. It's like the aisles are, if one person's in an aisle, you have to go around them through another aisle.
Yeah.
So like if I want to squat down to go look at any of this stuff, like the aisle's closed. It's just me, this big guy stuck in the aisle. And I kept hitting my head on the things that were streaming from the ceiling every time I walked through something.
Oh, yeah.
I just felt like a total, and so anytime I'm in there, I'm like, oh, there's all this cool stuff. And I'm like, oh, I probably need to just kind of get out of everyone's way.
That's actually one thing I loved about the store is that they put these little bridges over all the shelves and then store stuff up there. So you're walking through and you look up and you're like, oh, more things to buy, above my head. Yeah.
Did you notice the soundtrack that's in there? They're usually pumping a bunch of like older like game tunes and stuff like that.
I did notice that, and I don't know if I got it in the video here, but I took photos. They had a whole wall of video game music CDs, like new releases, and they must have had like 3 shelves of just Sega music. It was pretty amazing. This was my favorite section, and I have some books I'll show once the video ends too. Fanzines. So, to my knowledge, Beep helps publish some of these, which is really cool. And it shows the difference between a place like this compared to, I think, another place we're going to see after this, where it's kind of the difference between, and there's even a shop in Glenside, PA, that's like this, where they understand video games. It's Retro Junkie in Glenside, where they understand the games, they fix the machines, they know what they have, they contribute to the community a bit by having tournaments and the like. But then you have shops like a place near me where it's like a guy's scalping some stuff he just got at Target, selling Pokemon cards. He's got sneakers and a big wall of like Xbox Series X games. And it's like, it's clear he's there to make money, which, no fault to him. But Beep felt different. It felt like a store that really had kind of its finger on the pulse of like retro game fans in the area and abroad. And I really love that.
Yeah. It's also like a lot of Dojin stuff, like hobbyist stuff. And I mean, they've actually, through, like you said, they have actually published things. They've worked through helping other companies republish games even for older systems and stuff. So yeah, they're very active and very involved, well known and well liked in the retro community.
For sure. Yeah, you can see here there's a Hudson fanzine there. Down here are more franchises I'm not actually that aware of. But down there, I flicked through all those books. Let's see what I have to say about this place.
So I was in Beep for about an hour. That was probably my
It took me a long time.
Store.
It takes a long time. Man.
Maybe the next one might outdo it, but to be honest, it was just like so niche in my thing. They had tons of fanzines and fan comics. I got one that I guess is centered around like Astro City arcade machines. Another one centered around the House of the Dead, Scarlet Dawn. I also got a Twin Bee capsule toys, Valkyria Chronicles capsule toy, a Nights into Dreams Nighttopian pin, like from the Saturn era, which was really cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to digging through those things. I haven't bought any like games. Really, I bought a few games, but like honestly, it's more the ephemera.
I didn't buy any
I
games.
love that stuff. So
That's funny.
we'll see how Mandrake fares. I hear good things.
All right, so this place is, I think this is the biggest place.
Okay, I want to. I need to, because if everyone
Yeah, go
who's
ahead.
gone to Mandrake has an experience, I need to hear your exact experience with the store, because I think that it's going to be funny, because it's always funny. It's always like everyone has a story about trying to figure out how this place works. So I'm
Okay.
curious to hear if it's very similar to how my experience is the first time I went to the Mandrake complex was.
All right, so I walked past this place not knowing what it was. It looked like a Goodwill.
It looks like a dungeon. Like
It
a
does.
big, like gray, ugly building. Yeah.
Yeah, the windows are filled with like stuff you'd find and you'd presume like a Japanese Goodwill, like weird Mickey Mouse cookie jars and things. You walk in, there's nothing for sale. It's just people unloading stuff that they're selling there. And then there's elevators that take you to proper stores, probably the best like in terms of like everything being packaged, everything being on fancy shelves, lighting. But it's like all old to used stuff, but it's presented in a very nice way. There's so much of it on the game floor that I went to that, again, it kind of tells you that if they have this much stuff in stock, it's probably overpriced, so that's why they're not selling through it. Having said that, there is a glass wall of hardware, and a lot of that hardware is expensive, but the VMUs were incredibly cheap. They had two camo VMUs. One was about $10 less than the other, and I asked, like, why is that? He goes, oh, one's damaged. And I looked at the back of it, and it was almost like someone like maybe nicked it the tiniest bit. It was completely unrecognizable. Yeah, like, and I was like, how? And it was like $19, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get that. They also had the Sega Gaga one that had it looks like a Mega Drive where it says like 8-bit at the top. And that was like $110, which is a lot, but it's like $50 less than eBay. But what's funny is I was very respectful. I did, go around and film, as you can see here. But then the last picture I took on my little venture through here's all the Dreamcast games, an insane amount. I had to take a picture of the VMUs, and then I feel someone touching me, like going like this. And I was like, what? And I turned, and it was one of the staff members. And he looks at me, and then he points to a sign that says, no photos. And he says, no photos. And I mentioned this, too, on the Sega Talk I did with George. That was the first and only time a Japanese person touched me on the trip. And I felt, I felt like I've been in Japan enough that I felt offended. I didn't feel bad about taking a picture. I felt like they should have great shame. And I was actually kind of pissed off at the store itself, and so I just paid and left. So what's your story with this place?
So you get in, right, and you get to that wall's still there. They have they have some of the best and highest quality stuff that you can find in most stores, right? A lot of the times, like, they'll have a console, they'll have 10 versions of it, and like it'll go from being like the box is literally water damaged to like immaculate.
Yeah.
And it's all graded. It's all, it's all very specific to what you're looking for. Like if there's certain kinds of consoles you're looking for that are rare, like I see a Turbo, Turbo Duo X over there.
32X is up there too, a Saturn.
Yep. And so like, if you're going there to get a trophy, right, they're probably the place to buy a trophy from. Like
Right.
if you're going there for a particular console and you're saying, I'm coming to Japan to buy X, they're usually the place to go in this particular location.
Yeah.
the other thing too is that I feel like, yeah, and it's funny because you're taking a picture directly of the no photography.
That's
Right
the man
there.
who touched me, and there's the VMUs above his head.
And there's the sign that says "Don't do it."
Right. It's not photography though; it's video.
No video.
It says no photography is
Prohibited.
prohibited.
All right. Either way, though, like that store, I feel like for whatever reason, so it's almost a chain, if you will. There's a lot of other locations of it. There's the one in Nagano Market. There's another one too in like Shibuya, maybe, but that one doesn't really have retro games. My experience is I came in there, I got to the bottom floor, and I'm like, okay, where are the games? This is just a bunch of people, like you said, like putting a bunch of things at the carts. And so I'm like, there's a huge line of like otaku waiting for the elevator. I'm like, forget this. I'm going to use the stairs. And you go to the stairs, and the stairs are just outside iron gates.
Yeah.
Like something from a like a dragon game that you're expecting like someone's going to like come walking down and start an encounter with you. But then like if you're not really sure what floors you're on, you can end up on some pretty wild floors. There. So it's not just games. Like, so I remember I was there with a friend, and my Japanese was not as good as it was, as it is today, which is to say, I'm pretty bad at it now, but I couldn't read anything there. Walked in there, and it's literally just accessories for your live, like a full-size doll.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I walked in there, and I'm like thinking, where's the retro games? And like, there's so many moments in Japan where I found myself in a scenario where, because I'm in the store now, there's a certain feeling, or people are going to think that I made the conscious decision to do what I just did.
Yeah.
Where I physically did not. I'm just stupid. That's my problem. So I walked in there, and it's just kind of like Abe Simpson, putting the hat down and fitting the hat back on and walking out. But I still, and then I realized that I think the retro stuff is on like the 7th floor or something like that. Like it's like way up there in terms of like walking. So then I ended up walking all of those steps, of being completely jet lagged, and then got up there and it was just like dizzy because like then you get there and it's a giant space, like a giant space. But there definitely was. I remember stuff in there that was like worth the price.
Yeah.
Even back then, and even this last time around, still worth the price. Like still actually, not going on eBay, looking up what the price is, and then adding $50 to it.
Right. Yeah.
Stuff is still worth the actual price that you're supposed to pay for that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really what kind of jumped out at me, is that a lot of stuff was expensive, but it was at least less than eBay. And I'm even talking eBay in terms of like buying from Japan itself and paying the shipping. Like if someone's going to sell you a console for $100 and throw on $25 for the shipping costs, over at Mandarake, how it's spelled, it was like, it'd be like 95. And so you're like, well, it's like $5 less than eBay, plus there's no shipping. And so the other thing is if you spend over, I want to say it's 5,000 yen, but maybe I'm wrong. Whatever the tax-free is.
Like I think it's like 6,000, like the equivalent of like $600 or something.
Right.
Like
No, it's a lot less.
it's less now.
So you bring your passport to a dedicated. So you pay at the floor you're at. You bring your passport down to the first floor. You show it to a woman or a man, but it was a woman, and then she paid out in cash the tax that I had paid upstairs.
Interesting.
Isn't that
Usually they just
strange?
kind of like say that you did it and staple it to your passport. I've never actually gotten money back.
But it's not. No, it's not for reporting though. It's basically if you spend over a certain amount at any store, as a foreigner, you don't need to pay tax on that, so they'll remove it from your bill. So a lot of the costs I was seeing for things were like the price, and then below it had the tax-free price. And
yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
and it incentivized me to spend a little more at places because I would actually save money on everything. And it actually also worked out as like an ATM where I was like, because I couldn't use any of the ATMs there for whatever reason, but I could get my tax-free money back from places. So that was the video. I have some photos, but I completely forgot, and I I'll just do it right now. So I actually got these, and it actually is fitting, from G Fuel. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They sent me some flavors. They sent me Miku's Sweet Melodies. Look at that. Have some fun with Miku. See her there? And it is a hydration mix that they sent me. So it's caffeine free. It's the equivalent of like drinking a sugar-free Gatorade. And it actually tastes really good. It's blue raspberry rock candy flavor. And then they, of course, sent me this, which I really like the Sonic one, the peach rings. And then they sent me this one, which was actually kind of timely following my trip. It's a what's that, like the Retro Gundam show? Yeah, and I struggle saying this. The flavor is Ramoon. Is that what it is? Ramune melon.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the trip I had some of that, and I learned that if Ramune is not in one of those bottles with the little marble floating in the top, then they call it cider. And to me, cider is alcoholic. Mm-hmm. But it's not. To them, cider is like a weird bubbly mix that I can't place the flavor on, but apparently it's like kind of like an appley, fruity drink that they have, and the flavor is cider, but in those bottles it's called Ramune. It's the weirdest thing. But yeah, so they sent me these. It was very nice. I do have a promo code, so if people want to try out some of their stuff, it's anime right now, which seems like a new thing. A lot of Crunchyroll's doing it. G Fuel's doing it. I think it's kind of cool, actually, because I got some great anime Blu-rays not too long ago for really great prices because they did a May sale. But yeah, you can check them out. SEGAbits is the promo code. Get 20% off. There's also a link down in the description here. And I've done G Fuel videos before. I anytime they do some Sonic drink, I'm in. But anyway, that's the promotion. But I want to jump into some photos here. These are pictures that I took at a store that I did not cover. And we talked about this before I was recording. It's called what? Something Camera, right?
It was Yodobashi, I believe.
Yodobashi Camera. This place was insane. Like double escalators going all the way up, like 4 or 5 floors. Call me weird, but I actually went to like the washing machine floor because it's overwhelming, the amount of stuff that the Japanese can cram into a store and the signage. And I maybe it's because I've played too much like Shenmue and Yakuza games, but I absolutely love being in like retail spaces in Japan that has nothing to do with my interests. Because when are you ever going to look for like refrigerators in Japan? Never. But when you do it there, it's so amazing because you're like, I've never seen refrigerators like this. I probably spent an hour just walking through their cookware section, just looking at pots and pans and things. But this place, they had an amazing, it was like a whole toy store, video game section, great selection. So you can see here, they had some Sonic stuff. This might have been, I think this is there. But this is definitely there. They had a bin of Sonic and Shadow toys, or plushies. They had a ton of these. They're called Sonic and Friends. It's like Sega's take on Sanrio. These were everywhere. But I was really surprised to see not only like nostalgic little stickers for retro Sega consoles and the Wonder Swan, but a lot of Yakuza merch. They had, or Like a Dragon, they had these character pillows of the 3 major protagonists. They had really cool looking shirts of the tattoo designs. Pirates in Hawaii was big at then because it was new. So they had a bunch of shirts for that. They had this whole section of all these little goodies. They were Like a Dragon cups and pins and badges. they had these really cool looking statues that were actually quite affordable. The little price signs fell over there, but I remember going to Joypolis and they sold those there too, and I think they were like maybe $30-$40, which is not bad. But you get one, you want them all, and then you're dropping like over $100. Also, they're shirtless. Like, can we put the shirts on, guys?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like that's that's a little intimidating.
You know what it is? It's the tattoos, because they're not showing off the tattoos on the backs. If I got those, they'd be showing off their butts. That's what I'd be doing. But pirates, again, lots of pirate Yakuza. They also had these. They were little die-cast Sega consoles. They had Mega Drive, Genesis, Gray Saturn and Black Saturn, American Dreamcast, or I should say, I guess European Dreamcast and Japanese Dreamcast. Those were very cool. It was neat, too, to see new releases. So here's Pirates in Hawaii for a respectable price, but I actually bought it new for $25, which is great considering it's a $60 title right now in America. And then I caught this shirt too. This was really cool. So the Ryugagotaku Studio, or RGG, is celebrating their anniversary. So there were a lot of 20th anniversary shirts, completely sold out. Or if you wanted like a small size, which was understandable because like Americans like me are going there, or Westerners, and like buying up the stock. I also really got a kick out of seeing this. I don't know how old this is, but it's a piece of like Sega furniture promoting their games, but it was filled with Fatal Fury stuff. So kind of weird. Huge Pirates in Hawaii sticker on the floor. I loved seeing that. It really, I mean, to be honest, like a Dragon has a ton of merchandise in Japan. It's really wild. And it actually made me really happy because I'll be honest, 95% of the stuff I saw in Japan, I didn't recognize. And I guess if a Japanese person came over here, they'd probably not recognize like Rick and Morty or something, So it's like, it makes sense. This is a photo I took at Book Off. So that's a box Dreamcast for 25,000 yen. That's not bad, I guess. Here's a picture of some of the stuff on the shelf. I don't know why there's the Dreamcast logo when it is not Dreamcast stuff. Maybe they moved things around. There's some Mega CD games. This is Super Potato, yeah. Mm-hmm. But you can see the Dreamcast section very picked over. Lots of obscure, probably not too popular titles, or just like affordable, common stuff. The Game Gear section was not that bad. Lots of boxed games down there. Let's see if we can zoom in. See, this is what the video didn't show us. So you can see Woody Pop, Pengo, but no Sonic. Just like columns, lots of columns. There's that super expensive Echo the Dolphin there. Some loose games, but I kind of like put my phone away with my wish list after I went here because I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna find Tails Adventures for the Game Gear. Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that's gonna be behind the glass if it's there.
Right.
It's not gonna be on the shelf.
Yeah, and same with the Mega Drive stuff. Nothing really jumping out at me. And to be honest, ever since I bought a EverDrive, I don't buy these games anymore because I technically have them at home, and it's just like, unless it's a franchise I absolutely love and it's like I want to have a physical copy of it, I'm not going to get it. This was at Beep, just not for sale, but just on display. And George and I actually talked about this on our accessories show. So it's made to look like it's for any driving game on the SG-1000. No, on the I think SG-1000 they made it for. Maybe the Mark III. But it's basically an outrun thing. But it has an actual car in front of the TV. See that?
That's amazing.
So I have to presume they repurposed this because there was a controller that looked just like this, and then they made a home game where I think you play a video and then you have a plastic car driving in front of your TV.
And Mom looks really, really upset. Like,
Yeah,
she's really confused.
Yeah, Dad's loving it.
Dad's loving it. Kids loving it. Mom is like, oh man. What we
These are
doing
also
here?
not for sale. Very rare Sonic the Hedgehog plushies at Beep again, as well as some like fan art or something. I thought that was really cool. Here are the Sega Ages titles they had sitting out. The Phantasy Star ones are in there. I think I took a... Yeah, there they are.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And they're 4,780 yen. So,
That's pretty good.
yeah.
Considering,
But-
I mean, I don't know how much they charge on eBay, but I'm still thinking, it's like $35.
Right. I mean, in hand, too. You're not, like,
Yep.
paying shipping. This is one thing I
That's so
kind of
cool.
regret not getting. It's a...
Oh my god, that is so cool. Oh,
It's a
that would've been an
recent-
instant buy.
Right, it's recently made. It's with a small, like, vinyl toy company in Japan, and it's the one-eyed mammoth from Space Harrier, but he's kind of like SD, like big head, little body
Yeah.
for 5,000 yen. And
I still would have paid that. That would have been in my hand. That would have been out the store. Like that. I love that.
they had like 5 of them too. That's $35. So it's not terrible, and when you consider it's like it's like an art piece basically.
It's
Not
fun,
bad. I should have gotten it. I bought so much stuff there though.
I know. There's every time I go, there's something I regret I didn't buy. That would have been like, I would have like just walked up and paid for it immediately if I saw that.
This
Holy
was
crap.
a Sega Sonic puzzle soda can, not for sale, but
Wow.
very cool.
Yeah.
And then this is the soundtrack selection. So they had tons of Wavemaster and Sega Music CDs. They're all there. Like this was very tempting. The Knight's Perfect album is there. But I held off, and thankfully I did, because both at Mandarake and at Book Off, they had all these used. Like a lot of these were used for a lot less. Finishing things up with the photos here, I think this is the last one. Oh wait, almost done. This
Wait, what was
is
the price on that? Wow, that's for a box 32X. That's not terrible, right? I'm pretty sure.
44,000 yen.
Yeah,
What
it's
is
like
that?
$350 for a box unit in hand.
Is that what it is? Let's see. $305.
Yeah, $305 for a box unit in hand.
That's
And
not
considering
bad.
the shipping of the size of that, I mean, if you got that shipped, it'd be like $50. So
A Saturn
I mean,
there. I think it's is that
is that a
Derby?
B Saturn? No, that's the what's it called? Yeah, Derby Saturn, right?
Yeah, it's like the
Yeah,
Derby
look,
one.
it's a clear one. The you can see the picture right in the label. It
Oh
looks just like one
man,
of the
see
cool-
that's so cool, like a clear sight.
I know,
That's
it's
the This
so-
Is
it's so
Cool
cool.
one, right?
Yeah, that's the super cool one.
Then there's
See,
Game
but that's
Gears
like-
down there.
That's like what
Or
these
Game
these places are so cool for, though, because like if you want to get that really cool, unique kind of item, it's right there in front of you. Like it's not like you're getting it randomly from eBay.
Right.
You don't know what it's like. You get to see it right there, and you get to take it home. And again, you might end up paying a price that's similar to, like, I don't know, going to a game show and a convention or something and buying it. There's always that markup. But the fact that you can just put it in your bag and take it home, the hassle freeness, there's value to that. And then it's always weighing the shipping cost. You can just throw it in your bag. Like a lot of what I find out there are like old MSX computers and things like that, which those end up being like over 10 kilos in some cases. So the shipping is like hundreds of dollars. But
Now,
I can
how
just put 'em
about-
in my bag?
But having said that, how about these $2,000 Pokemon Game Boys?
So this is the thing, and this is a new thing
Yeah.
in Japan.
The Pokemon
And I've
tax?
noticed this. Just no. So during the pandemic,
Yeah.
Game Boy became really, really popular in Japan. I was able to buy, and I don't think I have it over here, but I managed to get a Game Boy, off a shelf in a book off for, I guess, 250 yen
Yeah.
in 2016. They were just piles of them. They were like under $10. I came out there now, and I was looking, they're like $200 each. $200 for a brick DMG, like the regular thing. It's like $200, and like there's no good reason for that. It was one of the highest, or like best selling gaming things of all time, but they're just super expensive now. Everyone wants them. Those Pikachu editions. Just imagine paying like $2,000 for a Game Boy Color. I can't imagine it.
Is this one really 660,000 yen?
Yeah,
That's $4,588.
it is. Yep.
That's insane. And then this gold one
and-
is 2,000.
And it's not; those prices aren't actually bad compared to what I've seen.
God, a Pokemon Game Boy Micro for $2,000.
So we were kind of talking about how like the times I've been there before and the times I've been there last time.
Yeah.
That was the biggest shock. I was telling all my friends, like we're all chiptune musicians. Like, yeah, they're charging $200 for a Game Boy. Where like you could go to a retro shop around here and get one for what, $50, maybe
Right.
like a regular Game Boy, like a brick DMG, like the gray, like the worst model. They had a huge stack of them too, like an entire wall of them, because it's so common, and they're still charging $200 for them after conversion. I don't know what the hell happened. Like that's one thing that really confused me. That's so cool.
They had a Sega light up sign, not for sale, and from what I gather, these were given to shops that were selling Sega games and consoles back in the day to put in their window to tell people to come in and buy Sega things. So that's cool, but
so
not
cool.
for sale, obviously.
Yeah, it's so cool to see it. Yeah.
Here's a copy of Outrun 2 for Xbox, which is cool. I think they used a slipcover. I could be wrong. It looks like they had a slipcover of the logo on top of it, and that was 19,800 yen. But there's the tax. See, that's the price. See the 18,000. That's how much it actually is for foreigners.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, and it's funny because like, okay, I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Usually when I buy stuff, like it's usually that second price, or there's I'm paying with card, they do something with it, but it's usually that other price. I always get confused with that, especially at Mandrake. But yeah, wow, look at that. They're all there.
This was my last picture before I was touched by a Japanese man who should apologize. I hope he apologizes. I didn't touch.
Honestly,
here's the thing: I didn't touch any of them. They touched me.
In my opinion, I've gone. How long have I been in Japan? I probably have spent maybe almost 8 weeks total over the last 10 years or so. No one has ever touched me. So I feel like if a Japanese person actually did touch you and felt the need to touch you, that you must have been doing something that was really getting them angry.
Must have, or they were
Yeah,
very rude.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of rudeness, especially in Tokyo, and especially if you don't understand what the systems are. I have plenty of stories of that, but they're probably also used to people coming in there disrespecting their stuff, acting like a bunch of gaijin idiots, and and I think that's probably part of it. If you run a store where a big part of your people who are coming in are foreigners, I could see you being pretty gruff about having to deal with that.
Right. I mean, to be fair, I was like singing the Fantasy Zone theme song really loud as I was walking around, so maybe that was no. But this was the last picture I took, and I'm glad I got away with this one because it's a very cool selection of VMUs. They had the aforementioned 2 camouflage ones. One's $19 and one's like a little over 20. They had this one. I've never seen it in person. It's called Numbers, and
That's wild.
It's a black and white pattern of just black numbers on a white background. Very weird.
Not in great condition.
Was the Sega Gaga one for $110, which if I went on this trip and like didn't spend much, and then I saw this one, I'm like, I got to get it, but I didn't because it was $110.
That would have been tempting for me.
But it's in the box. I don't know.
It's just like it's in the box and then it's in your hand and like.
Yeah,
and see that's the thing. Like as you were saying, like this is the stuff that's really cool, right? Like going there and buying like Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles for Mega Drive is
right.
Okay, But like this is the stuff that's cool, like finding that, or a lot of the cooler things that I've found in stores. They'll just have like a boxed replacement Super Famicom AC adapter version 2,
Yeah.
completely sealed, and you're like, okay, that's not like Mario or something like that, but where the hell do you find a peripheral like like something like some that is in its box, that's all set up, that's completely sealed, that was supposed to be like a replacement for an AC adapter? Like that's a little bit rare. Or like I think I have a bunch of I found a bunch of sealed Game Boy Color and Game Boy transfer cables,
Right.
with the original Nintendo packaging. Like
That's
that's
cool.
super cool. Like why why not,
Yeah.
things like that, and I think that that's like, as a collector, as I've gotten older as a collector, I guess, like it's less about having a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, I had a huge Mega Drive collection. I had a huge, Mark III, or, and all those kinds of collections. And basically, some of it I've donated to the Bleep Museum so that they can put it on display. But a lot of it I just sold in bulk. Just put them all in a box and said, free, no reserve, and shipped it away. I mean, because it doesn't. I like, if you have, it's not worth that much. It really isn't, And
Well,
if you
you're
have
you're a stronger man than me, because I will open something. It has a plastic cover to it that seems made to fit the thing. I'll fold it up and save it. And I think that's my grandma and me, because she was a hoarder, and I sometimes I become aware of that, and then I destroy the thing so I don't save it from the trash. That's what I have to do. But yeah, so let's talk about some of those interesting little things. So I have some items here with me that I want to show off. So these are some things I actually got from Beep. So first off, this is a Twin Bee capsule toy set.
Nice.
Very cool. It's from the Shooting Historia collection, which also had a Opa Opa, which is he's sitting behind me there. But he's actually our logo too. Like, back in the day before I owned one of those, I took a picture off of the internet of that physical capsule toy and traced over it for the SEGAbits logo. But these are also from that same collection, and I just love them. It's so cool. I also got this. This was at Beep, like on the floor almost. I couldn't tell what it was. It was in pieces, but it's a Valkyria Chronicles capsule toy. That was $10.
Nice.
Like, that's really cool. And then I think the weirdest and most obscure thing I got was this. They had a box of dead stock for something called Stamp Nomoto, and it was a collaboration between Sega and Data East, which is really cool because I don't know a lot about Data East, but I love Data East. I love a lot of their, like, Heavy Barrel's like one of my favorite NES games.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so to see Sega and Data East collaborate on something is so cool to me. And so you might be asking, what is this? So what this is it's the equivalent of a Sega photo booth, but what you make is a stamp. You take a picture of your face, you add text, and then I don't know how the machine does it, but it gives you this. And this was inside the box. And on the bottom, it has molded into it Sega and Data East's logos. And you take the bottom off, and this is the physical stamp. But it's touching. I don't want to touch it too hard. It almost feels like you put peanut butter on a piece of bread and then let it sit out for like a week, and the peanut butter's still a little soft, but it has a film on top of it. And I'm presuming they use some sort of like heat to heat the stamp shape, the inverse of it, and then you basically have a stamp of your face that you can chunk stamp down. So yeah, they had about 20 of these, and they were $4 each. Just, it's the equivalent of buying like blank paper from a photo booth. You know what I mean? It's like but it's like a little Data East logo on the
that is like literally, that is pretty amazing, actually.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so that was another pickup of mine. At Book Off, I actually got this CD, MCU X Sega Sound Collection. It's recent. It came out 2021. and it's a very short CD. It's about 8 minutes long, but it's a rap collaboration with Sega, and this guy did rap remixes of Fantasy Zone, Pango, Gain Ground, and Alex Kidd. So
Nice.
for the outro music, I'll play the Alex Kidd. If I get hit by it with a copyright strike, then no one will hear it except for on our iTunes and on our audio versions of the show. This was a really cool find. It's the Nights into Dreams album, but it's the original release that came out alongside the game. And that was super cheap. I didn't save the price in here, but it was like maybe $10. And then I also got this. I got this at Mandrake. The Fantasy Zone Ultra Super Big Maximum Great Strong collection. And it is... And Knuckles.
Featuring Dante from Devil May Cry.
And I'll open this side, but it's a 4-disc set of every single Fantasy Zone game soundtrack on just about every platform. So it has the Mark III PSG, the Mark III FM, the System 16, Game Gear, Mega Drive. So it has every game, every spin-off. Galactic Protectors on here. It even has some bonus songs that are like nightclub remixes. And that was, I think that was $30 for that, for CD set. This is the one I got at Super Potato. Nothing too exciting. The Shenmue Perfect Guide. I love the Shenmue guides because in the back they have bios for every single NPC.
Oh, that's fun.
And they actually translated all that for the American ones, so I can actually learn about like this like old lady who walks around, like figure out her name and stuff. It also has maps, obviously. So that was a fun little pickup. But I think the coolest and most unique pickup was again at Beep, and I have their shopping bag here too. Let me show that off real quick. I don't know if you got their shopping bag, but
Oh yeah.
it's so cool. It's got that, and then on this side, it's like an old computer, and with a Famicom, and it just looks cool. I don't really know how to explain it visually. It's a list of all this old hardware, and then on the other side, like it's their mascot, I guess, the anime girl who welcomes you with her boobs. But what I got there too is I got these 4 fanzines. So the first one is, pardon my plastic sound on the microphone, but I got this, and
ASMR.
it's a tea. So I don't understand what this is. I know that this is like a Sega cocktail cabinet. They used this. It was kind of like a multi-purpose cabinet for their games at the time. But this book itself, the Sega T13, it's just like someone had one and just took tons of pictures of it, and then they put in the measurements, the schematics, I guess, for it. It seems like it was someone who just owned one of these or really liked them, and it has print ads and flyers for it, pictures of the controls, pictures of the insides. Wow. Isn't that strange? I mean, that's weird, right? Like, it's like hardware porn, basically. And measurements. My favorite part is they're showing the measurement of something here.
Like physically showing the measurement.
Physically,
like
they take out, they take out the measuring tape and like, look at that, 20 inches or 20 centimeters. But I absolutely love this. I wish they had more of them. They did have one for non-Sega hardware. And there's the inside of it too. But it's like a, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's types of people who would actually, go crazy for that. I also got 2 of these. I'll open one of them. They are, and I'll butcher the word. It's dojinshi, right? Right? That's the non-pervy one. Dojin.
Yeah.
Hentai is the naughty one. This is not hentai. So
Yeah,
sorry, everyone.
Person is just hobbyist or yeah.
Right, and there's two of these. I think it's from the same artist, Dockster, and it's a like a comic about. I'm not 100% sure what the like story is like, but basically it's this like this character takes a DeLorean to the past, and they go, and they even have photos. They go to an actual like 80s arcade filled with Astro Cities, and they like get super nostalgic or something. But then this like old man starts injecting them. I don't know what's actually going on. And then there's like a romance. But they are in, from what I can gather, like Akiba, visiting arcades both in the past and the present. And there's like a guy she has a crush on. I'll have to translate it myself and like look at it. And then they did a second one where they're playing the House of the Dead, Scarlet Dawn,
really
which is the newest one. So I just got a real kick out of this. Someone doing this like series of this like clearly Sega fan doing these. And then the last one I got was really cool. This one was, I think it was 2,300 yen, so not too much. But it's a Phantasy Star End of the Millennium fanzine. And the printing quality was amazing because it's got this like
Oh wow, look at that.
like hollow shimmer on it.
Yeah.
And it's a collection of fan art celebrating Phantasy Star's anniversary, as well as fan comics. Let me see it. There's a fan comic for Phantasy Star. It has photos of cosplay. And then it also has developer interviews, which is really cool. Staff interviews that I don't think you can find anywhere else. And it's just, it's really cool. It's, I think, all Phantasy Star 4, if I'm not mistaken, too. So, yeah, I had to get this one. They also had one for Sakura Taisen, but I'm not as big a fan of that franchise, so I didn't pick that one up. But yeah, just a really, really well put together celebration from Japanese Phantasy Star 4 fans. So
That's awesome.
that, I think those are all the like little goodies that I got. But yeah, so that's that was my trip. Those were the things I got. And I don't know how much I spent overall, but I'm sure I'm going to see the credit card statement soon enough. But I don't feel like I spent a ton. I think just on the retro shopping day, I probably spent a little over $100, which is not bad at all, I don't think.
Yeah, no, not bad at all.
Yeah.
I usually, if I'm going there, I will not buy anything on eBay for a while, save up, and come in with like, this is what I'm looking for. I'm going to get the best
Right.
price on this particular thing, and then drop quite a bit of money.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
usually with something very targeted in mind. So like, I'd be trying to find the best price I could get on a 32X boxed or something like that, and I would go to every store I could find that might have one, debate if it's worth it, something like that, and you know, knowing that I'm going to drop $350 before I get to Japan is usually how I plan it, because otherwise there's so many tempting things that it's just like it's right there. Like my biggest and best purchase I ever made in Japan was a Wonder Mega, a boxed Wonder Mega, and this is in 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
It was 40,000 yen. No, yeah, 40,000 yen. Which at that time with the conversion rate was about $310
Yeah.
boxed with the manual. And I opened it, and I don't think anyone had actually used it. It was in its original plastic and everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was just sitting on the floor. And actually, so Trader has multiple locations. There's like 4 or 5 different locations for it. and it was sitting on the floor in one of the other trader locations that's a little bit harder to access. And so that's where I got that. The only other place that I really regret that you didn't get to go to, because it literally closed like a couple months ago, was Friends.
Oh.
Friends was this location. It was a mom and pop shop. It was owned by a couple, and they had by far the friendliest service and the best prices in Akiba. They curated everything. It was a kind of a smaller store, but not, they if you found something there, you would always get the best price. They always had the best price. They're very friendly. They would not follow you around the store, but they would ask you what you're looking for. You know, they talk to you. I think there's a lot of people in the retro community who have very good stories about them. When they closed, it was like a big deal. It was a big hit. Their lease just went up. They're an older couple. They just can't afford to keep doing it. But that location was, you look at it's the complete opposite of what Mandrake is trying to be.
Yeah.
Or Super Potato. Super Potato and Mandrake are very different in their own way. Super Potato trying to be the high end of everything, but what's it called? Friends had a smaller amount of stuff in their store that they curated.
Right.
So it was all rare stuff, but you may go in there and you're not going to find what you're looking for. But there's a bunch of other rare stuff on the shelf. It's kind of like if you're playing an RPG or something, and like you go visit a store and it has the rare items out. The special rare items that only pop up every once in a while.
Right.
They were in that store. And you could get the best price for something. Like, I
man.
need the gold sword, and it's like 10,000 gold here, but it's on sale here because it popped up for 5,000. Yeah, like I got so many good deals there. And it's one of those places where I went in, I bought something, and they're like, "Oh, you like that kind of stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, actually, we just got a bunch of that stuff in now. We haven't priced it. Do you want to look at it?" And they're talking to me as an American who's a tourist, and they're okay with like talking to me about this kind of stuff. So that I'm really sad that you didn't get to go to that place, and I was sad that I couldn't go. They closed like 2 or 3 months before I was there last, but they were like kind of like a treasured part of that community. Beep is very similar. They're great in that. You saw all those older computers they have there too.
I did.
They spell and curate like older computers. I got my Sharp X68K, which is sitting there from them. And they refurbish the units before they sell them. They go through, they recap everything. They tell you what you're getting. They have I think a 6-month like return policy for any reason on their consoles, and they guarantee work on them for up to a year. So you can just bring it in, and they'll continue to work on it if it dies or if there's any problems with it.
That's really
cool. And that goes for any of their consoles. So, I probably paid maybe $100 more than I needed to for the X68K when I bought it. Mm-hmm. But it was still refurbished. It was still had a guarantee. Like all those kinds of things got to add up. I didn't get to visit them the last time I was there. I can only imagine how expensive some of that stuff was, because
I'll bet
that retro stuff, like especially computers, it's probably 3 or 4 times more expensive than it was the last time I was out there. Unbelievable, like in terms of how the price changed.
Right.
But Beep in general, like I remember there was like just a whole like area where they just had a bunch of controllers hanging, and they had like 6-button Sega controllers, like Mega Drive, branded Sega 6-button controllers, which are not very common, let's be honest. And they were like $15 each.
Yeah.
$10 each, which that's still better than any other price you're going to get. They're just hanging on a wall somewhere.
Right. And I get a sense that a store like that, because of their size and because of the commitment to like people who shop there and probably resell locally too, that they are constantly having interesting things coming in and out, so they can afford to sell them for a better price, because that way they keep customers coming back and dropping. Like I said, I spent more at that store than any of the other ones. I think I spent like $70 there, maybe $40 at Mandrake, and then like 10 at Book Off.
Like great example of like the other thing. Like I'm just reaching over here because I have it here, but like if let's just say you bought an X68K, or you have an old 68K computer, you don't have a monitor for it, you need to hook up a monitor to it. The monitors for it were proprietary. It had like a certain kind of pin value, and you're like, how do I get that to go to a VGA monitor? It's like, okay, ask Beep. They'll just sell you the thing that does it, and they make it themselves. And this is the like they have this Dojin hardware stuff lying around. Like this is something that you never expect to have to ask anyone to ever have.
Yeah.
right, or use, right? Like, where are you going to find this at like a hard off or something to get the VGA converter for an X68K? They have it for some reason,
Right.
and they have lots of things like that that are like those really heavy, like, hey, the keyboard membrane in my computer broke. I need a new keyboard membrane. Can you manufacture me one? Yeah, well, if I can't do it, some other guy can. That kind of mentality. So really heavy in that Dojin. Like, let's there's the huge Dojin community that is in Japan. They're very heavily involved in that, and that they're very heavily supportive of that. So
Yeah.
they're always releasing cool stuff. They're always releasing, and they're always working with other things. Like there was a time where I was working on stuff for MSX that was almost licensed to Beep to sell. We were working on a sound cartridge, which I think now the sound cartridge got released under somebody else. But because we worked with them to do it because it was easier to get an American manufacturer. But I came in there, I showed them the cartridge, and they're just like, yeah, how many units can you get me? We'll put it on the shelf. And I'm just like, what? Just like some dork with a cartridge. But they were super into it. And that's the kind of stuff they do. They love that, like, do it yourself kind of mentality. So yeah, it's a great store. And I feel so bad I didn't get a chance to visit it. I had many days I could have. And the one day I picked to go there was the day they were closed. I think it's like Monday or Tuesday they're closed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I did not encounter any of that. It was more of the times places open and close. But I feel like as far as like Monday through Friday, I didn't see any signs up saying they were closed on certain days. But I mean, I will say that, yeah, if you are planning a trip in the near future to this area, we didn't even talk like hotels. Like, where do you usually stay? Do you stay in this area or elsewhere?
I have my secrets.
I know
there's
you
a couple
do.
of places, but I like to stay close to Akiba, but I usually stay kind of over by the Tokyo Dome.
Okay.
Kind of more residential, like Suidobashi or Ochanomizu, or places around there. Ueno's pretty nice too. You can find pockets of Ueno, which is above Akiba. I don't tend to, because I've spent a lot of time there, I don't tend to spend as much time in Akiba anymore. I'll visit and go through the stores because it's always fun. But a lot of the times now, when I'm looking for retro, I'm going way off the map.
Oh, I'm sure.
Going like an hour and a half northeast of Philly into a place that I have to, or northeast of Philly, northeast of Tokyo, where like I have to take a bus to a different train. And things like that, just because it's kind of fun to be like adventurous.
I can imagine.
Find that if you go way outside of the city, and it's just kind of similar to like thrifting in like in the States, you tend to find incredible deals, unbelievable deals. The prices just sink, and like things are like the prices you'd expect it. Like I call it the Famicom tax. A Famicom probably out in the middle of Akiba is like $110 probably.
Yeah.
It's $5 outside the city.
Yeah.
$5 to $10. A Super Famicom in box is like $20. It's not that price in Akiba. Like those kinds of things, you can just you can find those. But like, do you have to spend your entire day in Japan going out to that place? Do you have to make a dedication to doing that and being a kind of a crazy person? I am that crazy person, and so you do. So it's like it's that delta. But I think that it's very similar to like that thrifting addiction, or just anything where you go to a thrift store and like, oh, this thrift store has video games, which used to excite me when I was a little kid. Or going to FuncoLand and FuncoLand actually having a game you're looking for. Like, remember as a kid, I went to a FuncoLand and then they didn't have anything anything good. And my grandmother was like, "Oh, do you know there's another one?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we went to that one, and they had a used copy of Chrono Trigger. Which I didn't have, and it was just amazing, right? Like, imagine just coming in there and Chrono Trigger's on the shelf.
That's
in
awesome.
like 1996. Yeah. But that's that same kind of feeling. Like, you come into downtown, you see it, but then imagine like taking that bigger journey, kind of walking around, and then there's we were just looking at that High Saturn or anything like that, and there's a version of that, and it's like $40.
Right.
And you took that effort. It's kind of like the thrill of the hunt is more what I started to like the last couple of times I've been out there.
Right. And just speaking as someone who went there for the first time, and maybe you'd agree with me on this, I feel like this is a great first timer place because not only does it give you a great selection of stores in a very small area. You can see here it's a 17-minute walk and you're going all over the place. But there are all those Gigo arcades, which I know a lot of Sega fans bemoan them changing, but let's be honest, Sega's the one that left the market. Gigo didn't force them out, and Gigo was in no way like handcuffed to using the Sega name. If anything, it's kind of odd to like be in full control of something and retain the Sega name when you really want your own brand. So I don't blame them for that. But I will say, and this is not a focus of this this podcast, this episode, but Gigo did a really great job of maintaining like the look and feel of how they were as Sega arcades, and they even retained a lot of things that you hope they wouldn't get rid of, like the and I forgot the name of them, but those little bready things with the red bean paste inside.
Oh yeah.
The little carrying around.
The buns are it's like my brain is not connecting, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so of course they don't sell the Sega logo ones anymore. They're the Gigo logos, but it's still there. And what I really appreciated was how close they are. There's like 3 or 4 of them within a 2-block radius, and one of them, I think it's the building number 3, has the retro floor, which is almost all Sega. And you have to imagine they're not making new old games, and they're not going to spend the money to move those out. So as long as they can keep those running, it's going to be there for a long time. So I'd say between the Gigo arcades being there, the that huge camera store that's more than just cameras, and of course all the retro game shops that are within a short walking distance of each other, this area is great for first timers and even second timers if you want to go back with the knowledge you have from your first time. And at least for me, I stayed just a little over here. So it was nice because we were enough removed from the bigger area, but it was like a 10-minute walk over, and it was such a beautiful bridge over the Conda River here. Our hotel was actually connected to one of these marts, so I didn't even need to leave, and I would get my breakfast there. I can't tell you how much.
You were like a little bit closer to like Ochanomizu then.
I was.
Which would be the stop
I think I was here.
before.
I might have been here.
Okay.
Or over here.
Yeah, I like that area that's like tucked behind the river over like on the other side. Like that's usually where I stay. I tend to stay a couple stops down that way, but over there, it's really nice.
But yeah, it was a nice walk every day, and a quiet area comparatively. I mean, I'm coming from the Chicago area, Chicago suburbs. I've lived in major cities all my life, so it's not like it was Akiba wasn't a huge shock. I think if anything, Tokyo, maybe Shibuya, maybe was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd recommend it to anyone. But if you're a retro video game fan, especially a Sega fan, it's a really great area to be at, and everything is like a 30 to 40 minute train ride away. Like if you want to go to Shibuya, if you want to go to Tokyo Joypolis, if you want to go to Kabukicho, all of those, like you could fit a couple of those in one day because it's not a huge trek. But in any case, that's this map will be shared in the description after I post this. Maybe tomorrow I'll add it in. But yeah, I just appreciate you coming on, talking about your experiences prior to my experience, and just fun talking through something that I'm already missing it. I want to go back and experience it again.
I have to say that like anytime, like I try to visit as much as I can, but anytime I'm not there, it just coming back to Japan is always like a spirit lifter, and the idea that you can go back is also a good motivator.
Right.
To me,
as long as we keep those relations with their government going, right? We gotta.
Yeah, we got to. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's not like it doesn't cross my mind sometimes, but at the same time, like there's also been a lot of tourism backlash after the pandemic in Japan.
Yeah.
I can say that there was more tourists than ever when I was there the last time I was there, and it was like for Tokyo Game Show, but also like, just in general, I was very shocked at how crowded some areas were. So, I guess also like one of the tips that I'll say going there is just, and you probably noticed it, you know, as an American, it's very hard to fit into Japan. We're too loud. We're going to talk too much. It's just, but at that same time, it's like just trying to be respectful while you're out there is like the key.
Yeah.
And you're never going to get it right. The last time I was there, and trust me, I've been there a million times. I walked into a car. I walked into, I think it was the what's it called, the Chuo Rapid Line.
Oh.
I got into I walked on, and I sat there, and everyone's staring at me, and I'm like, what? I'd walked into the women's only car.
Oh, I had no idea there is one.
Yep, the Sakura car. And I walked into it, and I should know this. I know that the car has like a special little flower on it, and you're not supposed to do that. And like, everyone is staring at me, and it's like, and it's a rapid. So if I'm going to the next car, do I walk right now to the next car and acknowledge it? Do I act like a dumb American that's not paying attention to it? Or like, because I'm going to be here for 25 minutes.
Right. And so you don't want to go like, where are the white women at? You don't say that.
Yeah. Or like, but like, I just remember like the scowls, and it's like, I should know better than this. Like, I'm such an idiot. Like, and there's nothing you can do to apologize because you've already done it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're just kind of meeting that stereotype of what it is. You can bow, you can do what you got to do, but you are that stereotype. You are that ugly American, and that can be kind of not frustrating, but it can kind of be part of that experience that's negative because you kind of don't want to bother people because there are definitely people like this whole like Johnny Somali thing and some of these other people who go out there and just like make total jerks out of themselves. In these places. And that's like a great example of what people are expecting Americans to be sometimes. And I really hate that mentality, and like the way that you took the videos and everything was perfectly respectful. Right. But there are definitely people who are holding the camera like this and being like, look at all the people. And it's like, oh, it's such a cultural, like you just can't do that. And so if you're visiting or if anyone here wants to visit, having the basic level of cultural understanding will get you very far. No one expects you to bow. No one expects you to, do all that kind of stuff. If you do a little bit of that, people will see that you're trying to. It's like my dad always says, like, you can't walk very quick or anything. But like, let's just say you're in the crosswalk and someone's turning. You give them a little old man shuffle. Like, I'm putting a little effort in. Like, you're going a little faster. I put a little effort. Like, you're not actually going faster, but you're saying, yep, I'm doing it, Right. And it's kind of like if you show that bare minimum of effort, it goes a long way because people understand that you're trying. Right.
I before the trip, I tried to like memorize a few words, and I just was like, in the moment though, I couldn't do it. And so what I did was, and they were doing it to me too. When you leave, they say thank you in Japanese, but they'll also a lot of times go, thank you. And so I found myself, before they would even say anything, I'd be leaving, I go, thank you.
And it's so funny because there's always that like sing-songy way that everyone talks, like when they're giving instructions, like blah 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 blah, like you hear them on the loudspeaker, and like so it's very you kind of get into that kind of tone, and then you realize that when you see the average Japanese person when they go into like Family Mart to go buy something, they don't say anything. The people talk to them and they just kind of like pick up their stuff and leave. Yeah, and like and I'll at least give a domo or arigato, something like that. But like you just see a lot of people just go in there and go. And walk out without saying anything to the cashier. But it's just, it's just having a bare minimum of that. And I feel like, especially in the more touristy zones, it goes a long way. Right. Especially if you go outside of Tokyo, like where you're you are definitely invading and tramping on territories. Just trying to be respectful is super
important. I was saying to some, like, number one Sega news site, it's your company. You don't have one, step it up. They didn't understand. Where's their Sega fan site? Come on. You build the company up 60 years old and they don't even have one? Anyway.
Not even a forums. Come on.
They don't even have a forum. I think that... I don't even know if there's a forum. I don't think there is anymore. No.
I think Square Enix even has a forum.
Yeah, I did get drunk at one point and start yelling, "We kept Sonic alive. If he was in your country, he'd be dead by now. He has movies."
I mean, we thought that the 32X needed more time, and you guys put the Saturn out. I don't understand.
An American Jew made this company. Respect that. I mean, it's true. He's still alive, too. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Yeah.
David Rosen, he's
think
still
of that.
alive. Someone told me
still
they
alive?
saw him like a couple years ago at an event, and that just blew my mind.
Oh no, no, that's weird because I thought he was dead. No, he's not. I guess not.
He's not dead. Though there is someone a little earlier, and he's dead. But that's
Okay, that's probably who I
that's
was
the
thinking.
standard games guy,
Okay.
and he has a different name. But yeah, he has passed. He has left us. But anyway, on that happy note, do you have anything going on to plug or any projects?
Well, I'm still working on Yoke Heroes, which is a Tamagotchi-like game.
Nice.
That was released on Steam. Train your little egg guy, do a couple things. It's kind of fun. It's a nice game loop. It's an idle game where you just kind of raise a little adventurer, or they go on little adventures and stuff. I did all the music for it. It's available now on iOS and Android as well. And we used to have an Android model where you could get the game and play it and watch ads, and you could do it that way. People were not as into that version of it, so now we have a version where you can just pay a flat fee and never have to see an ad ever again. So you can play for free or with ads, or pay $6 or something like that. We also have the desktop version. It's nice and light. You can run it in the background. The game plays by itself. It's an idle game, and you tell your little elf to do what they got to do.
Yeah.
As you can see, I think this has the little pooping mini game in it, which everyone loves. Let's see if we get to the pooping mini game. That's what everyone loves. I forget if it's in the montage, but you can see you train your little elf. You fight the metal poop.
Uh-huh.
You fight the geese, the clam. Watch out! Here
that's
comes
great.
the frog lord. Nah, we don't have the pooping mini game in there. Everyone loves the pooping mini game.
Yeah. Well, who doesn't?
Because it's just like Tamagotchi. So you have to clean up the poop. You have to take them. They have to go to sleep. It's all the same stuff. Everyone thinks we're diabolical for the pooping mini game. But
That's exciting.
Me and the other guy insisted that it had to be in there because it wouldn't be Tamagotchi without it. So come for the music and the fun, and stay for the pooping mini game.
Who doesn't? Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, hey, Steve, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You also keep this show alive, because if I have a weird idea, you're always game to come on. And I keep saying we need to do another weird hardware one, and I think I think we're overdue. So I'll get in touch with you once I have the energy.
We should print some more things. I still
wanna.
have,
there's a zoo I can print. Remember that?
Zoo?
Yeah, remember I told you there's a zoo. We can print a zoo, and I have a map, and we can populate it with animals. But what did you say? You still have something?
No, I still have. It's at my desk in my office. I'm printing with Steve or whatever. The little things that we did. Yeah.
And you're probably the only person in probably that region to have, like, the region of the United States to have one of those, a Sega pre-fund printout. So that
was probably one of the most fun things I've ever done. Like where I was like, watching someone else do something. Like that's such a weird thing to say, but like it really was. Like
that could have gone south though, because that machine might have broke. It might not have worked. That was like I didn't even pre-test it out of the box. So yeah, I'll have to get some. Someone told me I have to get some silicone WD-40 and just give it a little spritz, and then it'll probably print better. But
nice.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. I feel like we need to do that again. But yeah, people can check you out. You're on Twitter. I have your little @ handle there, and then of course you're on what's the music website called? I'm blanking. Bandcamp, right? Yeah.
Yep. Also, and I'm also the same thing at Blue Sky. If you're not on Twitter anymore, it's also at APOC.
Oh, nice.
Spelled like that at Blue Sky. Yep.
Cool. I deleted Twitter off my phone, but I still use it on the desktop. So I'll check you out on Blue Sky.
Time not being addicted to it still, but
I know. It's okay. We'll help you with that. Maybe that'll be the next one. I'll tell you we're printing, and then I'll bring you on, and it'll be you and me and your parents and your wife.
I'll just say I knew this day was coming. I knew it.
We got you. All right. Well, from myself and on behalf of Steve, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the SEGAbits Swingin' Report Show live.
いきなりの縦スクロール始めるフルコー I love ライスボール掲げてナイスポーズ揺れるワイルドなサイドバーン1986からの太鼓判奥義の特権とパンチを武器にフリッキーに戦うプリティなプリンス今すぐスタートミラクルワールドアリエッセイから始めるゲーム熱い塊を吹っ飛ばして独自な道走るずっと待ちで1が攻撃で2がジャンプ他とは違う最新型サイクルにコプター操り爆走じゃんけんでとどめるアクションでもおにぎり食っても世話の瓶けれどみんなはこういう背が欲しいアレックスアレックス通称アレックスオンリーワンアレックスアレックス Come back to you アレクルアレクルミラクルワールド最先端アレックスアレックス Come back to you まだまだまだまだまだ現役だまだまだまだいいだ予想不可能もはめるパターンボスの頭上に合わせる技